World Financial Group offers entrepreneurs from all backgrounds the opportunity to start their own business on a level playing field. Dr. Jana Woodhouse, receiving the WCM Wall Street Pioneer Award by the United Black Wall Street of America, Inc., is one of those entrepreneurs.
I see WFG and TFA as a place where African Americans with an entrepreneurial mindset can flourish. And the bonus, we help families and serve the communities across the country.
To learn more about us, go to worldfinancialgroup.com.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward-thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.
She was told that she couldn't play with the boys. She was told that they were too big, too rough, too strong. She was told to give up her dreams and move on. She was told to just be pretty, be quiet, be a lady. She was told that women had to stay on their side of the court, stay in your lane. Playing and competing with men was insane. She was told that men and women would never be equal. Dreaming like that would only be linked to your mind, to your soul. She never listened. She knew that their thinking was old. She was magic. She is the definition of spirit. She is what champions are made of. She is now.
Greetings and welcome to Access Wealth Nation with Dr. Jana B. Woodhouse, giving you that checkup from the neck up in the financial world. And so today, of course, before I say today, this month has been recognized as the Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I couldn't let the month go out without paying attention to that serious, endearing situation that we must as a community address. We have to always bring it to the forefront. And again, domestic violence comes on different levels. It does come from women. As we know, 1 out of 4 women have an experience as far as domestic violence, whether from their household or personally, but that's one of the things that we have to address and then cure. That's what it's about, is the healing of our community. Of course, let me do my due diligence here is that, of course, we have the How Money Works, Stop Being a Sucker book. And if you'd like to get the book, all you have to do is send an email to anagenterprisesinc@gmail.com. Make sure you give me your address, and I'll be glad to be able to send it to you, no cost. The only thing that I ask as far as a cost is concerned is that you read it. If you get something out of it, share it. If you gotten something out of it and you want someone else to get a book, share the email address and we'll be glad to send it out. Also, my philosophy is that if you have failed to plan, if you have no plan, you fail to plan, you fail your life and your abilities, that. And so in respects to that, we give a free financial analysis to anybody who wants to know where they are right now and where they'd like to be. And so, without a doubt, give us a call at 646-375-2121 and mention Access Wealth Nation, and we'll be glad to give you that free financial analysis with no obligation behind it. You know, the key is to have that plan, and so that you are definitely not planning to fail. No, I get it right eventually. Okay. So we're talking about financial literacy, of course, is one thing, but above all is this situation with domestic violence and how do we start to cure. And so today is going to be a dual type of show. And of course, I'd like to also acknowledge my radio station, which is WHCR 90.3 FM, and we will be going for that hour and then close out. And we're going to have a full financial review of how domestic violence affects our community, but also how we have some solutions to it. And so I ask those of you from WHCR, you tune in and go to Facebook or to YouTube so you can see the presentation on domestic violence and financial abuse. That being said, I only got about a little less than an hour for us to talk. And so I have a very special guest. She's a friend of the show. She's a dear sister, queen to me. And so I would like to bring on board and bring up Andrea D. Jenkins.
Woo! Hello.
You know, I think that your story, your life, your journey is so awesome, and that the audience needs to hear about it. But before we do that, I have the honor, because it's on my show, that Miss Andrea D. Jenkins is rolling out this today. You can purchase her book. Her book is titled The Joint Effort, Life After Hip Implant Recall. There it goes.
There it is.
Woo, that's the baby. That's the baby. And the book, I had the pleasure of reading the book a few times. And I will say, I'm going to preface this, is that this is the book itself, and the title is not the full depth of the book without giving all the hoo-has behind it. But when someone has taken a journey, and we've all gone through that, we have our journey in life. And that's what it's all about. We're spirits here having a human experience. And in it, we have these journeys. But Andrea's journey is serious, and it can help and heal other people. And so I'm going to give what I really think needs to be said. You go to Amazon, you buy the book, and you read it. That's what you're externalizing. Then you read it again, because you've got to internalize it. And then you read it one more time and you embody it. And that's what I got out of it. And it's a powerful book. So my sister queen,
yes.
Andrea,
Let me
thank
wipe my
you so
tears
much
till you
for
just talking. Woo.
allowing me to have this opportunity to roll your book, your first book, on my show. And due to Domestic Violence Month, you can't just hit people over the head with the domestic violence. That's what I feel. I think you have to tell the story. You have to share. And that's where I've been through. I sat in on a session with you. Was that just yesterday?
It was last night. Yes.
Boy, time is flying.
No, Tuesday. It was
Tuesday. That's what it was.
Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday. Yes. And as I listened to the women talk, it hit my soul that women have stories, everybody, and it doesn't matter whether you are an executive, or domestic, black, white, purple, green, Jamocha, as my friend says, Jamocha brown. You know, it doesn't matter. This is something that is going out, and they call it, when we talk about cancer, they call it the silent death, because no one talks about it. Well, domestic violence is the silent life. It's people living and not being told. So I want, Sister Girl, you just go ahead and you get the chance to tell us a little bit about how did this baby get birthed? Okay. And what do you want people to really get out of the book?
Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity to be able to be here this evening to share this with you and everyone else. But yes, I started several years ago with the thought of I can write about what I've gone through. I can write about my journey, the hip replacements, the recall, the struggle, what I went through. It was a devastating period for me. But again, as I said, it was just a thought. And then the more I kept thinking about it, then I began to start verbalizing it and said, well, why not write a book? So then I started with the words. I chose to write about my journey with the condition I was diagnosed with, the struggle that I went through, the joint effort to help get me to where I am, to overcome some of those dark moments, those deep, dark moments. I decided to write it because it was a healing process for me. I went through this dark period where it was woe is me, and this is going to take me out. My life is going to end. And it did not. So I'm so thankful for my family, of course, my strong faith that I have, and my friends. That connection that I had, not only was I seeping, deep into a dark, dark place, it was getting darker for me, but those around me saw the same thing. And they did everything they could to help me, to pull me out of that darkness. It's a challenge when you're in a wheelchair and you can't walk, or, having my dad to pick me up, to take me to the bathroom, not being able to use my legs. I was at a young age, and it was nothing but woe is me for a long time. So I decided to move past that and put it on paper. And as I continued, I had to verbalize it. We're writing this book, Andrea Jenkins. Let's get it. We're writing. And I kept writing. It took some time. And boy, there was some frustrations. But I had to tell myself, I can do it. I will do it. And it is happening. And it happened.
Oh, it happened. And the thing is that I think that with it, to hear about, because I'm hearing a lot of people going through body issues, health issues. We're a very unhealthy community. Let's put it that way. Yeah. And so we believe in the doctors. And of course, the doctors, they have practices, and that's the reason, because They still practicing on us. But I just wanted you to touch a little bit on the fact of, how in the world do you get a recall and a hip replacement?
I was wondering that same thing. It's like, wait a minute. We're not talking about a tire or the refrigerator or, any kind of appliance here. We're talking about this implant. And for a long time, I had no idea that my implant was recalled. So, of course, I was going through all these doctor visits, trying different medications, doing this, doing that. And, without telling everything that's laid out in the book, it was a challenge just to even find out that's what was going on with me. It took time for me to even get to that point, to realize, oh, I'm one of those patients. I just didn't know all of a sudden. So, it was very interesting. And when before we even found out about the implants being recalled, when I was initially diagnosed with the condition, I'm in denial. Then I'm like, how dare you, this doctor, how dare you tell me that this is what's going on with me. Now you fix it. You diagnose me, now you fix it. You're the doctor. So, just imagine, being in your 20s, you're vibrant, you're busy. I was a busy woman, always active, always active. And to be told, okay, ma'am, you're going to have to slow it down. Oh, now I was angry. So once I got past all of that and gone through the recovery, it was time to put it on paper because there was so much anger, so much,
Now, for clarity's sake, because I don't want to tell it, it's so hard not to.
It's hard because it's like I just want to start talking and tell you
tell the whole story, but you got to get to the book. But the thing is that was during that same time that you were going through this, you also were in an abusive relationship.
Yes, I was.
And
yes, I was.
It wasn't making it any easier, was it?
No, it was very challenging. It was very challenging. So I'm dealing with the fact that now there's a major health issue going on. And then at the same time, I'm dealing with overcoming this abusive situation here. I need to remove myself from this environment. So there was a lot being thrown at me all at once. But hey, I'm here now. I came out of it. And this was Lord, over 20 years ago, 20 some years ago. And so you ask me, what is it that I would like to share, for those that are struggling or involved or in the midst of a domestic violence situation? Just recognize and know that you don't have to stay in that situation. And although that's what I went through, you see this smile on my face now?
Yes, yes.
And so I want to make sure that other women recognize that, listen, want better for yourself, improve yourself, fight for you. That's what's important. We have to learn how to prize ourselves and elevate ourselves, change that mind thought, that process, the thinking process, and be open to help. Be open to the conversation. And so many do not want to voice what's happening due to embarrassment, their shame. I'm a strong woman. I can't be seen like that. Guess what? I felt the same way. But so many are quiet because of that. Well, I'm no longer quiet about it. I have no problem voicing it for those who are afraid or not in the position to use their voice.
I think that that's so important because I think that just like you said, we're strong women. We got that S on our chest. We're
absolutely yes, yes.
And then someone comes into your life that you think loves you, and then they take that away from you, and
right.
And I think that that's a lot. And then I heard one woman, and I related to it so well, is that you walk into a restaurant and you're afraid to smile at the waiter because it's going to start an argument.
Absolutely. That was me. That I was in that exact situation where, and it doesn't happen just instantly. It's a gradual thing. So there was no way in the beginning you could tell me that I was being abused. That, not me. I was not raised like that. I'm a strong woman. I've always been sociable, always been outgoing and busy. And it was just gradual, just little things that was chipping away at me. And before you know it, I just completely shifted into being in public, to avoid a fight or avoid an argument. For me to have a conversation with the opposite sex, I chose to stop. Male friends that I was close to, I shied away from because now I'm beginning to doubt myself. Now you're being flirtatious. You're trying to get the attention of this man over here. So then over time, you're hearing those things, and that's what's seeping in your mind. Then I really started thinking, am I? I never had those thoughts before, but then I started doubting myself. I started isolating myself from my friends and their husbands because I began to feel like, okay, is my friend thinking that I am being flirtatious with her husband? Let me just stay away. All of that negativity I began to hold on to, and it takes a toll on you. And so it did take a toll on you.
how does one, and I know many people, especially in our community, we don't want therapy, but I'll tell you, I was a, I went to therapy on it, because this person loves you. They
Mm-hmm.
love you. They, care about you, and then they engulf you. And
Mm-hmm.
before you know it, they tear your soul.
Right.
And I went to get my soul back. I was, it's like, as my mother so wonderfully, bless her soul, told me, you ain't born with it. You don't have to keep it.
Right. Absolutely. And my mother, and I'm getting a little bit emotional. Like I said, even though this has been over 20 years ago, I still see so many women that do not see the real value in themselves, that do not see the true beauty that they have within themselves. And my mother said to me, I'll never forget, she said to me, I want my daughter back. And every time I say that and I think about that, it really affects me, because at that time, her daughter shifted completely. I was, and like I said, it was gradual over time. I was broken. I was broken for a long time. But then over time, I picked those pieces back up and I put them together.
Yeah, you
And I
get sick
became
and
a much
tired of being
stronger.
sick and tired.
Absolutely.
And in all honesty, my feeling is there's an element to this that's even stronger, is how we're controlled, or how the abuse comes from a financial point of view. But above that is that you try to, we become pleasers, and everything in it, no matter how great we are, we're still trying to please everyone. And mama didn't raise us for this.
That's right. That's right.
It's just the reality. And the thing is first, like you said, recognizing it, talking about it. And that's what we're going to talk about this evening at 7 o'clock. We're going to go through the steps and what goes on. As a matter of fact, I just want to make a note that we have also a wonderful poet she just blew me away. I'm gonna tell you, and she's gonna blow you away, Andrea. I'm just gonna tell you.
Let me get my tissue,
Yeah,
right?
Lord
I don't know
knows.
what
The
was I
child got
thinking?
up there
Bring
on
the
the
tissues.
stage, and I was sitting there, and she went through this, and she has two poems for us. So I'm going to have her do one in the beginning and one at the end of our
Awesome.
presentation. But I sat there and I was like, okay, all right. I, she's speaking the truth, and as she got a chance to speak to us quickly before the show started, and she's real passionate about getting this healing done,
Right.
and it's just powerful. So the key is that you're still healing, I'm sure, because we all are still healing.
Mm-hmm.
When we've had that experience, number one, we have to forgive ourselves.
Right.
It's part of they don't have a 12-step program for us, but it is,
Yeah.
that we have to forgive ourselves. We first have to admit, yeah, it happened,
Yes.
and now and I deserve whatever the beauty of life has to offer. And I can have a king to match my queen, and he ain't gonna make me feel bad, because love doesn't make you
Absolutely.
feel bad.
Right. Right.
But it does, because I remember traveling on a train. This is years ago, because y'all know I don't do trains. But I was traveling on the train, and this young girl, she had her hair pulled over her face, and she's talking to her girlfriends, and they're trying to tell her that love does not hurt,
Right.
that's not love. And she said those infamous words that many women say: if I had just kept my mouth shut, he wouldn't have hit me.
Right. Right.
uh okay, so then here comes, I was young at the time also, so this has been a while. So I said, I had to go over to her, and I said, if he hits you, that's not love.
Right.
If he hugs you too tight, that's not love. Okay. If he grabs you and you feel uncomfortable, that's not love.
Right.
And if he says things about you that aren't true and calls you out of your name, that is not love.
That's right.
So I said, I don't know how to get you anywhere else other than to tell you this truth. And she looked at me and I said, you are a princess and you deserve to have a prince that loves you. And if he doesn't ever show up, it's okay. Love
Be
you.
sure to love yourself.
Love
Love
you.
yourself. Love,
So,
pamper.
what was that point that you said to yourself, I'm not taking this anymore?
Well, what actually happened for me is because I stayed, there was a child involved, and so many women stay because of the children. And I felt guilty about leaving. It was like, I can't leave. I can't. I would leave, go back, leave, and go back. But for me, I was going into the hospital, and the doctor told me, the surgeon said, Andrea, your recovery depends on your state of mind.
Mm.
And my surgeon knew, he knew that I was a mess. He could see it. I would come into the, my appointments. My mother would come with me from time to time. I think the person I was married to at the time, he may have come maybe once, maybe twice. But my mother was, I tell my mom, she had hip surgery too. Okay. We're connected at the hip. She said, I draw the line right there. But really, it was my surgeon. Dr. Phillips told me, he said, your recovery depends on your state of mind. You are going to have to get it together up here before you go under the knife. And I started thinking about that. And I started thinking, you know what? Now I'm going into the hospital to have surgery. I'm living with a crazy abusive man. Who's going to take care of me? I'm not going to be able to just stand tall on my own 2 feet. I'm having surgery. And that's when I decided to leave.
Mm.
So after I left the hospital, I don't think I went back. I went back to gather my belongings when I found out he was out of town. And then I was on crutches, hobbling along, but I got my belongings. It was myself, my sister, and her husband at the time. And I did what I needed to do to get out of there. And I knew from that point, I was not going back. And I did not go back.
Wonderful.
Some of the most devastating things that happened, you would think, okay, that's what made her choose to leave. But that didn't make me choose to leave. I was still so concerned about, the child in the house. I was his protector. I could not leave him.
But that's interesting. Tuesday night, one of the ladies mentioned being a child in a household of abuse.
Right.
And abuse comes on all sorts of levels,
Absolutely.
And, she said that the reason why you should leave definitely is because of the children.
The children. That's right.
Because they don't need to see it. And it's also generational. It was interesting. Yesterday, I was in a Chinese restaurant, and this little he couldn't have been no more than a year and a half, and I watched him interact with his mother, and I got disturbed because he hit her, and she laughed, and I said.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, that's not funny.
Right.
And then behind it, because I said, here comes the generational confusion. He hit her and then he came and kissed her.
See?
I said, oh my gosh, this is the confusion taking place because this baby has seen something, So I wanted to touch on the financial aspect because
Absolutely.
that's what you do. You are a financial educator.
Yes.
And Unfortunately, when it comes down to domestic violence, there is also financial abuse. So tell us, how so? How does that happen? What occurs during that time?
Oh my goodness. So there are three categories that fall up under the financial abuse. So that is financial control, that is employment, educational sabotage, and then there's also that economic exploitation. And so, what does all of that look like? So, when we talk about the financial control piece of it, that's the denying of access to the funds, maybe
Mm,
check stubs, bank statements. Your partner denies you from being able to see any of that information. They hide it from you, threaten to withhold money from you, putting you on an allowance. That's some of
like
the,
a child.
like a child, right? Like a child. And not just that, but when it comes to making financial decisions, then the other partner is not allowed to make any financial decisions, or any financial decisions that are made, you're kept from knowing or understanding what those decisions are. You have no say so, no
Mm,
involvement, whatsoever. And
mhm.
that's just some of the financial control. But then you have that employment sabotage. What is that? That employment and education. And I can speak from experience on this with that employment. I worked for an information systems supporting a lot of hospitals around the United States. And this particular time, I had to travel out of town with a programmer, and we went to work on the operating system at a hospital. Well, this particular instance, it was storming, it was pouring down, we were traveling. Now, the person I was married to, he was calling, I didn't answer. I did not need to, shift my mind and put myself in a low state mentally. But once I arrived at that hospital, I was greeted by the staff members that were just, they wanted me to know, oh, you have such an amazing husband. He's been calling and, wanting to check on you. And, oh, he's been so worried, so concerned. So, me as this tough woman, what do I do? Oh, thank you. I'm putting a smile on my face. I'm already made up. Thank you so much. Oh, let us take you to, an area where you can, make a private phone call. Now, I was cringing. I did not want to make that phone call, but, I need to keep it together. I go
Mhm.
make the phone call. And of course, just nothing but violence, nothing but abuse, on that conversation. So I already knew once I left and I got home, I knew what it was going to look like. I knew what it was going to be. So I'm already dealing with that. I hang up the phone and I have to shake it off. Let me get it together. I put my lipstick back on. Let me psych myself up, put a smile on my face, and let me go out there and do a job that I'm here to do. And I was able to do that. The sad thing is, the person that I was married to contacted the programmer's wife to say, do you know who your husband is with? Do you know? I mean, it was just, so all of those things to make you want to leave your job, to embarrass you,
Embarrassing.
that let me not go to work. Now I'm looking bad in front of everyone. So, and not just that, pressuring you to miss work. You don't need that job. Those are just tactics. That's control. That's control. You don't need that job. You don't need your family. You've got me. You don't
Wow.
need that job. I'm working. In this case, I was the one that did the most work and brought the money in the household. But the financial abuse was still there. The fighting that would take place, the bruises that would be on me, well, then I wouldn't go to work. And then I can come up with all kind of excuses. I can't talk, so I can't go to work. I'm sending messages to my boss. Oh, I have the flu. I have some kind of virus. I don't feel well. There was excuse after excuse. And so what happens to women in situations like that? They begin to lose their jobs. So again, that is that employment, that educational sabotage. You don't need to go back to school. You don't need to apply for this job or this position. Why? Because you ain't shh, and you'll never be shh, and you never was shh. And so that's the conversation that you're constantly replaying, in your head. That's what you hear when you go home. But then you keep fighting and you keep pushing yourself until you do remove yourself from that situation. At least that's what I did.
Mhm.
But
But even once you remove yourself from it, all of that brainwashing, because that's what I think it should be called. Because if someone constantly is, some women will say, well, if someone hits me, it's over. Yeah, be in
well,
that
that's what I said. Yeah, that's
be
exactly
in that
what I
situation.
said. Yeah.
Or if someone talks bad about me and brings me down, I'm getting out.
It's time for me to go.
But you've been romanced. They usually give you a lot of stuff and then they take it away. They say the Lord giveth and he taketh away. Well, the God give you and
Yeah.
then he takes it away. And then you try to figure out, how do I get it back?
Or how did I get here? How,
Yeah,
then I start,
the
let
walks
me
in the
question
parks,
myself.
the fun, the good times.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see the real times. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking that, how do we get, and again, I have to say it is not just women, it does happen to men. A
Absolutely.
lot less for some, for obvious reasons, but
Right.
it does happen. And
Mhm.
and how do you financially get out of that? That's one of the things I know we're going to talk about later in the presentation, but it's really something that's heavy on my heart, because if he is, or your partner, because again, we have different types of situations now, different types of relationships where there's female, female, male, 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 female,
Right. And abuse is
when they
across the
control,
board.
when one controls the money,
So
or they don't include you, as you said, in the money decisions, then at that point, what do you do?
So it's important to, first of all, take pride in learning for yourself. And we're going to go into that a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
But it's important to step up and become educated and not just relinquish everything to, the significant other. Learn for ourselves. It's important. Start putting money aside.
Ah, there it is.
You have to have a plan. Whether you can put $20, $200, $2,000, $2, you have to start somewhere. So start putting that money aside to build towards your escape, and not just sit there and do nothing. Be open to conversation. Be open to learning how money works. Held the book up earlier. How money works. Stop being a sucker. We've all been suckers. And in this case, we're talking about abuse, financial abuse, domestic violence. Well, we have got to learn, we must learn the importance of not being suckers when it comes to our money, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to abuse. We have to walk in the relationship with our eyes wide open and learn the true meaning of that dollar and how that dollar can help you.
Mm,
Because just about every situation when it comes to domestic violence and leaving an abusive situation, money is involved.
mm.
That money, you have to have food, clothes on your back, you have to put
Yes.
gas in your vehicle. How are you going to escape? So you have to start.
You have to put away some money. And again, we talk about some of the things people can do to put to the side. But we're in um, an environment where there's things you can do, but the other part is that we're also in an environment where people can find out what you're doing.
Right.
So you have to have some, I call it partners in crime. You
Yes.
have to have some folks who will help you when you're ready. But again, before you first have to acknowledge the fact, I'm in trouble.
I'm in trouble.
You know, I have talked to individuals who, even, of course, doing financial planning. And the first step is to acknowledge I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
So in the case of financial abuse along with domestic abuse, you got to know that you're in trouble. Okay, so now you got to tell somebody.
Right.
And then you've got to try to see, okay, how do we solve this problem? And
Right.
a lot of people, they don't want to talk to someone they know. Go talk to a financial advisor. There are plenty out here whose specialty, like Andrea, is to talk to folks who are in those situations
Right.
and to help you to move forward. But having a plan, because without that plan, you are definitely planning to fail.
That's right. That is so true. Have that plan, be open to the conversation, and just listen. There were so many times that there's a particular situation I did open up, and I talked to a cousin of mine that she's more like my sister, and I shared something with her that took place. And what she did was the best thing that she could have done. And she took it to my family, to my mother.
Mm.
She didn't keep quiet. Now I was furious because I talked to her in confidence. I didn't want it to get out. Because mind you, I'm a strong woman. I really am not being abused because I fight back. You hit me, I hit you back. I'm just as tough as you are, right? But that's not what was going on, you know. But I am so thankful that my cousin did, and the more I look back on it, that's what we need. Women need to, please open up and talk to someone because the help is there. And just like the title of the book, A Joint Effort, I'm telling you, you're never alone. There are too many women who have walked that path that are so willing to hold a hand out and say, let me help you, because that pain is real. And when I see and I hear other women that are being abused and not wanting to accept the fact that they are being abused and to get the help, it pains me because I know what I went through before I was willing to walk out. But I walked out and I didn't stay as long as so many others. And there's so many who do not walk out
Oh,
because they
definitely.
think it's going to get better. It's going to change. It's going to change. It changes, all right. It changes to a funeral.
Mm.
And it's
Oh, God.
not always just the woman that may wind up dead, but then you have children that don't make it out. But then it's not just about you and that child. The rest of your family is involved because you are a loved one. And your family sees that pain and that abuse that you're going through. And so it's important to please, if you're afraid to voice it, listen and begin to take steps. And so even though I didn't act instantly, I listened. And over time, I started putting those pieces together. I was hearing what everybody was saying, and it was time to make that change.
Well, something comes to mind, and you know how we get to talk about things, and it just dawned on me. Um, I'm thinking that maybe we are, as women, also are at fault when we paint that Prince Charming idea that they're going to take care of us. I was watching. Uh, it's almost like what they call it, binge watching, because I don't get to watch TV much. But it was the House of Pain.
Uh-huh.
And the picture that was painted was the woman of the house. She cooks, she cleans. He can't even get up and get the remote, okay, for the TV. I was like, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching this, and I'm like, what are we planting in our minds that,
Right.
what what are we planting as far as what really family is? What is a relationship? I had this discussion with some young men because I said, y'all spend too much time trying to get into the pants. And once you get the pants, then you got the nerve to go find some more pants. And then you go and you never settle down to to understanding. And then all of a sudden, when there's a child involved, she's got the BITCH word come out. She wasn't when you lay down with her, so you can't use that. That's how I do when I do my tax business. I'm like, can't do that now. But what I say to them is that what happened to courtship? What happened to you date? And then once you do the courtship, I need you to have a long courtship because I need to see where those little things are hidden. When
Right.
you're going to show me that attitude. Okay, what we got? Greetings, lady. Okay, Andrea, congratulations on the book.
Thank
When you know
you.
someone has an abusive nature and they are about to marry someone you don't know, would you tell the person what you know? Hmm. So if you know someone's getting ready to go get married to someone who has an abusive nature, do
I
you
would
tell them?
share it. I would share it. Because if we keep quiet about it, if we continue to stay quiet about what we know and that abusive nature is there, then we're setting up our next woman to fail.
That's true. And
We want,
especially when it hits, if you know that they have that abusive tendency, yes, you tell. I agree, Andrea, you tell. But also, when it comes to finances, I've seen so many situations, and you giggle at it, but it's not really funny.
yeah,
But I've had couples come sit down with me because it's mandatory for us to sit with a couple and not have one person at a time. But many of people today do their finances separate.
completely
Guess
different.
what? That ain't a marriage. I'm just going to say it. It's not a marriage. If you separate your finances from my finances, we're supposed to be putting things together. And again, I know my philosophy, I've seen it time and time again, is that opposites attract. So you got the one who spends and the one that saves. But the problem is that when you get in spiritual side, we say you must be spiritually yoked. You need to be financially yoked,
Hmm.
you know. And when
And
that,
before you get into that marriage, you do need to have that financial conversation. Let's see
amen,
what do your finances look like. Let's see. We need to know, what am I walking into? Do I
right,
want to walk into this?
right. I love you, but your
We,
stuff is
we
shaky.
But see,
And
these
that's
are the
it.
conversations that need to be had up front.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, we talk all the time. We come together as women, we have these amazing conversations. I was talking to a friend the other night. I'm like, we talk about our bra sizes, we talk about the colors, where we're going to go shopping, or whatever event needs to be planned, we plan it down to the T. Don't sit so and so next to so and so. The kids are graduating, or the kids are embarrassing me. Whatever, we go into detail about so much. But how much detail do we go into when it's time to talk about relationships? When it's time to discuss, abuse, what you're walking into. I tell women, instead of always just sitting back wanting to wait for somebody to take care of them, learn to take care of yourself. My dad, he would tell me, he said, you know what? I never taught you how to lose. And he has 3 girls. My
Mm.
dad said, I am going to teach you how to care for yourself so you don't have to sit back and depend on a man to run the show.
Yeah,
You know how to do it. So when I wanted to go up and down the highway and traveling, guess what I had to learn how to do? I had to know how to change the tires on a
there we
vehicle.
go. That's right.
So, it's important to, hey, We can get in the kitchen, cook, clean, change the tires. Let's work. Be financial professionals, be educated, open our minds to receiving the knowledge. So that way we're not always just depending on that one person to run the household,
That's
to
it.
run
You
the
need to
show.
know.
Right.
It is, what is it? Billions of dollars are in the unclaimed funds in every state, not just millions of dollars, billions of dollars in every state. Why? Because somebody didn't tell where the stuff was. And
Mhm.
since they didn't tell, it goes into collection to the state, and the state has to wait before it can collect it. But this, that's why I tell folks, go to unclaimed funds to any state that you have been in, going to be, any family members have been in, get with it. But it happens because we don't talk, and that we if you're in a relationship where financially you don't know what to do, you need to either put your foot down and learn that, or it might be the time that y'all are not evenly yoked financially, and you might have to say goodbye, because that's an abuse.
Yeah.
Whether we want to acknowledge it or not, that's abuse.
Right.
Because
Right.
if you don't know how the bills are being paid, what needs to be taken care of, because we being taken care of, so therefore we don't need to know. No, you need to know.
And so what happens when the one that's taken such good care of me, paying all the bills, I don't have to worry about knowing anything about the money. What happens when he dies? Or what happens when he leaves you? Then what?
Hmm.
You're not prepared.
You don't know where
So
anything is.
it's
That
important to know.
story that was in Waiting to Exhale, and I think about it all the time. I said, I'll never be one of those women. Where she helped build his business, and then he went to another woman. So and
And it
I'm gonna,
happens. Yeah. It
I'm gonna
happens.
give you $300,000 when you're worth millions of dollars. Oh yeah, right. So what happened to you were going to take care of me?
Goes back to that plan. Ladies, we have to have a plan. You have to plan for yourself, plan for your future. And then, the dynamics of each marriage is so different. You may have the spouse, the husband who decides, hey, he's the one that handles, the finances. And then it may be the wife says, you know what, but I do have a say so. He shares that information with me. I know, but I just don't want to, that's not my superpower, so to speak.
Right, and that's
And
okay.
that's fine.
You
But,
know,
but be connected, know
yes,
what's going on, because again, what happens when he dies or when she dies?
that's
Because
right. What
abuse is
happens?
across the board, male, female, it doesn't matter.
That's right.
Be
And if you
educated.
don't, you've got to at least have a general idea. I tell folks, put it in a book.
Yeah.
Put the book,
Know what the finances are.
and
Know
if
where the important documents
that's
are.
it,
Yeah.
and then know what's going on. Why? Because there's another abuse that they talk about, and I think we will also hit on it tonight a little bit, is the fact that they file the taxes. I have so many men come in and file their taxes, and the wife knows
Nothing.
nothing. And to the extent that I had, well, thank God the child turned 21. The man had a child out of wedlock, and every year I do the taxes, and I was paid to do 2 tax returns, but the one that got filed was with the other child on it. And I kept saying to him, I can't keep doing this. And I was young during that time, all this time. When that child turned 21, I was so glad we took her off that tax return. I was so done, you know. But the wife never knew about this child, or at least that's what we think.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I said to myself, Lord knows if this man dies, she's going to hang me. because I played party. It's just like Stacy just asked, do you tell? Yeah, sometimes you just need to tell. And if you know that the person is not the most sanest or stable, or they are abusive. Now, if you know from a child that this is someone you've grown up with and they burned cats, okay, then you need to tell the story.
There you go.
Something's not right. Okay.
Yeah. And have a like you said, have the conversation. And a lot of times, Yana, it's not what is being said. So many times it's the way it's being said.
Yes.
And so when we're seeing individuals in abusive situations, we want to make sure that the way we are sharing our stories with them, the way that we are trying to connect with them, we want to use tact when we have that conversation.
Yes.
It may be we need to give a scenario to get them to just think about what's actually happening. Tell a story to help them to see, oh, wait a minute, that's me in that story. Okay, I need to rethink some things. So, we want to be very gentle, but very direct
Yeah.
with the conversation, because it is a matter of life and death. Again,
And
some live and some don't.
There's a mask, when you're in that honeymoon phase, but there's one day that's gone. The honeymoon's got to go. It's just like, they say, oh, you married that fine man, or you married that fine woman. And then they get older. They ain't as fine. They need to be your friend. And a friend doesn't cop out on you. A friend doesn't hide things from you. A friend does not take the funds and separate from you. That's not the way it's supposed to be. And someone needs to say that.
Right.
And I think, I listened this morning. Steve Harvey made this statement talking about, well, as a man, you're supposed to take care of the woman. And I was like, how about a partnership where we take care of each other? And the stereotypes that have been out here through the years and the ages may not be all right. It's a partnership. I never forget, it was my little TV references, but I remember it was one of the things on the Cosby Show, and Elvin said, "Oh, you're going to serve Mr. Huxley." I'm not serving him. I'm going to bring him a cup of coffee just the way that I got me a cup. Don't get it twisted. But see, that's how you find out who you're with.
Right. And I firmly believe and I love the headship arrangement that's laid out, in the scriptures. I love that. But that does not mean that the headship is, I am going to demean, belittle you. And so there, that has to be in its proper place. The headship arrangement, I love it. Absolutely.
Yes, as long as
we work together.
Together
And be supportive of each other. And if both parties recognize the importance of being considerate, showing love, being supportive, connecting together, then how can you go wrong?
That's it. And we're supposed to be happy.
That's right.
We're supposed to be happy. You're not supposed to be miserable,
right,
and upset and scared and frightened. You're to be happy, because that's our God-given grace.
Yes.
To be happy because we live a blessed life.
Mm-hmm.
And so, sister girl, I am so glad we're getting ready to go to our next session of going through a full presentation on domestic violence and financial abuse. We're going to sign off for WHCR 90.3 FM. As always, we're happy to have this Power of Harlem there and to give this information, to bring forth getting the checkup from the neck up, becoming financially free, and understanding what true financial freedom is about. So that's what we're going to go to the next session, but I do want to bring back the book for those who are listening. Please go to Amazon. There it is. A
There it
joint
is.
effort.
Woo! A
Life
joint
after hip replacement. That recall. Every time I say it, I'm like, Lord knows. I
life
think of
after hip implant recall. That's it.
Lord have mercy. The hip implant recall. They called it back, and then you had to go through the changes. But that was necessary to move to the next level. So we sign off from Access Wealth Nation, and we're going into our next presentation, which will be, I hope you all stay tuned because we're giving some powerful information on domestic violence and financial abuse and how to heal yourself.
Heal yourself.
There we go. Okay, so now we're going to bring forth the presentation. I'm waiting for our producers. There we go. Okay, and do we have an opening with our poet? Has she signed on? There we go. Hey, hi there. Excellent. So I would like to introduce to the audience. I met this young lady and she just blew me away. Now Ashley is what I know is her name, but what's your stage name? Your
It's Ash
Ash
dot 489.
.489. Gotcha. Okay. And powerful poet. I just, she's as passionate as we are when it comes down to domestic violence and healing it in our community. And this poem, I know you have two poems, but that first one, I'd like you to give us that first one, and then we'll close with your second poem, okay?
Okay.
And so
You want the original one that you heard? Okay.
And then we'll go through the presentation. Andrea and I are going to go through, so I'm letting the audience know that we'll go through the presentation, and then we're going to bring Ash.489 back on, and then we'll have some question and answer for you. Okay, so Ash.489, take it away.
You guys hear me?
A little louder. Can you get a little louder?
1 second. Is that better?
Oh, yeah, I don't want them to miss a word.
Okay, awesome. So this piece is called More Than No Means No. No. But what about the maybes? What about the little girls who are still just babies? What about silence? What about the women who didn't choose violence? What about the me's who were in the wrong place at the wrong time? If I led him on, then changed my mind, does that still make it a crime? Now there's caution taped around my body. And it feels like I'm trapped inside a body bag because a part of me died that night. What about the romantic sundowns that turned into a horror scene? What about the slowdowns, the please not too close nows, the I'm a virgin and I don't know hows? I know you heard the hesitation. This isn't up for debate. I don't need an explanation. I need you to listen. I need you to help me save the lives of our women because I know what it's like to walk alone at night and wonder, will he take my life or will he take my life? I know what it's like to sign up to learn to fight. I know what it's like to have fear in your eyes when you're alone with a man and there's no one in sight. I know what it's like to never speak on the first time someone touched you when you didn't want it. I know what it's like to feel haunted. And what fucking excuse do you think is valid? Will you tell your boy she wanted to have it? Will you think if you're nice about it, that will make you a savage? Will you shrug it off because you think she said yes? Will you blame her charisma or say it was her dress? Will you muffle the sounds and ignore her cries? Will you say she made it up? Will you say it's all lies? It's time to change this narrative. Teach these boys more than no means no. If she seems a little nervous in her body, you can't go. If she looks worried or scared, I need you to teach these boys to care. And if you see something as a man, I need you to do more than just stare. I need you to act. We can't keep fighting a battle your actions led us to anymore. Girls have a right to not have sex, but still sexually explore. And above all, I need you to understand what it's like to have the privileges you have as a man. Thank you.
Woo! Y'all see why I got blown away? So,
Thank you so much.
oh, definitely. So stay tuned. We're going to just do the presentation. Oh, yes, we got some
That was awesome.
excellent,
Mm.
phenomenal. You
Yes.
know, we're going to heal this world in what
One story at a time.
one story at a time. We're doing it. So now I'm going to we're going to bring up the yes, people are just commending you. And we're going to start the presentation. It's done opening as we are with let me make sure I've got everything up and running. Okay. And let me pray that this, yes, okay. Y'all forgive me. It's always trying to make sure it works. Okay. So in it, Andrea D. Jenkins is going to start the first set of the slides, and we're going to just go through what this is really about. And then once we finish with that, I'll come on and I have a bit of a solution, and we're going to tell some stories in between. So y'all ready for this? I know you are, and we're going to move forward. So go ahead, Andrea, get started.
All right. Well, welcome everyone to this fabulous event awareness that we are bringing to you all today, this evening. Thank you so much, Dr. Jana B. Woodhouse. So we are talking about domestic violence and financial abuse. And here with Wealth Wave, it's important that we come together. Our initiative is reaching out to as many women as possible to make the awareness or bring to the fore the awareness of domestic violence and financial abuse. And part of that domestic violence, of course, is, yes, that financial abuse. We touched on some of it, but we're going to continue to bring it to the fore. Now, many of you may not be aware or realize that 1 in 4 will experience domestic violence in his or her life. And out of that, 99% of domestic violence victims, they're also victims of what we discussed earlier, and that is that financial abuse. And that financial abuse, I broke down in categories earlier, but the abusers here, we're going to bring to your attention, use financial control, that isolation and intimidation. And why do they do that? It's to keep you trapped. And that's what we want to break the cycle of, that entrapment. So what happens in this environment in an abusive situation? Victims leave, they stay, they go back, they leave. But why? A lot of times, what many of you may not realize is that a big reason that they stay is financially. They don't have the money. I don't have the means to find someplace else to live. But not only that, a lot of times there's a child involved. And so with that child being involved, okay, I better not leave. So that was my situation. I didn't leave. I stayed. And then when I decided, okay, it's time to leave. Now I'm going to go ahead and leave. But guess what? I did the wrong thing. Let me go back because there is a child in the household. I need to be that protector. Is that really what we need to do? No. So now we're going to talk about financial abuse. So I mentioned earlier about the financial control, the economic educational sabotage. So we're going to focus here now on that financial control, and then we're going to get to the other two in just a bit. So what is this financial control? So pay close attention to the slides here. Does your partner deny or limit you access to money? Are you getting an allowance? As Jana brought out earlier, like you're a child, you're getting an allowance, huh? But what about denying you access to that information that was brought up to you earlier, like those bank statements or pay stubs? The financial money that's coming in the house, you don't even have access to it. You don't even know what your household finances are. Does your partner hide the money from you? Again, that's keeping you trapped, keeping you in the dark of knowing and understanding what your financial situation is as a family. And so that's part of that financial control. What about demanding a detailed accounting of the way that you're spending your money? Criticizing your financial decisions. Are you able to participate in decisions at all? Threatening to withhold money from you or make the financial decisions without even consulting you. And so in my situation, I'll just share this. There was a demand on the detailed accounting of the money that I made that I was bringing in the household. What am I buying? How much of the money is being spent down to the penny? Why did I spend this amount of money on this particular item? Why is it this particular item in the first place? All of that is that financial control. Again, not being able to have any say so whatsoever with the money that you even bring in the household. That's not good, but that's all part of that financial control. Now, let's talk about, and that was number one, the financial control. Now, that second one, we're talking about employment and educational sabotage, that education sabotage. So these are some things that you need to look at. Open your minds and be aware of these issues. Are you being pressured to miss work, be late for work, don't go to work, call in sick from work? Harassing you at school or at work? It happens to our young ones as well. Our young females in school or males in school, teenagers, guess what? Being harassed, being abused at such a young age. What about being harassed or your coworkers being harassed, your bosses or your friends being harassed? Sometimes that won't take place because they're not going to show that side of them to the public. That's where they cower down, but they're definitely going to show that side to you. Employment and education sabotage. Now, again, part of that employment and that education sabotage, does your partner belittle your work, your accomplishments? You may begin to feel good inside. You decided to take a class. You wanted to go back to school to further your education. But now you're being told you ain't you never were and you never will be. Why are you choosing to go back to school in the first place? You don't need to do that. Stay home with me. You take care of the household. What about criticizing your career, the academic choices and goals? Those are your goals, your dreams, your desires. Allowing that partner to belittle those dreams, those goals, and those desires. That's all part of that sabotage. And then physically harming you to prevent you from going to work or going to school. As I shared earlier, there were many times that I called in. I didn't go to work. I didn't want to be seen with bruises, so I called in. Over time, I lost my job. So many women are put in situations like that where they lose their jobs or they fail a grade in school because they chose not to go to school because of the bruises. You choose not to go to work because of the bruises. In public, there was a situation where I had hickeys on my face. I'm sure many of you have heard the term passion marks or hickeys. Well, the person I was married to put one on my face. And his reasoning was so that when you're in public, when you go to work or wherever you are, then you belong to someone else. It's evident that you belong to me. So those are some of the things that we need to be aware of. Now, this economic exploitation, Does your partner withdraw money from your account without you even knowing about it? Add their name to your credit cards, or pay the mortgage or the bills late. Or how about not even paying them at all? Bills are due and they're not getting paid. That's all a part of that economic exploitation. These are things that we definitely need to be aware of. And so change needs to happen. Change needs to take place. So what is that change? Well, there are some steps that we need to be made aware of. And Jana is going to help educate us on what those steps are. And so one of those steps, the very first step that we need to be aware of, is making sure that we are gaining financial education, becoming aware of our finances, being taught, because just about every situation, as I mentioned before, in leaving an abusive environment, it involves money. So we're going to take that first step and we're going to learn how money works. So now I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to let my wonderful Dr. Jana B. Woodhouse take it from here with learning how money works.
Well, thank you. And thank you so much for sharing a part of you, and letting people know that there is a rainbow. There's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
Yes.
And yes, we've got to first, though, this is a major solution, is that we have to learn how money works. Now, I know it was not taught in the schools. We got so many of us are out here as financial educators. You just have to tap into us. And we have sessions, we call them How Money Works Essentials. Stay in tune. We're going to, at the end, have a bit of a survey that you can tap into and answer. And this way, if you want more information, you can also ask for the How Money Works. Make sure I put it in the right space. Stop Being a Sucker book, because we all have been suckers. And the reason why it's called How Money Works, Stop Being a Sucker is that, when you go into the bank, I know many people haven't done that recently, but if you look to the left and you look to the right, you see candy. They usually are lollipops. Now, before we came out 2 years ago with this book, it wasn't just the lollipop, but the lollipops were dum-dums. So they really were trying to tell you what they thought about you. Now some of the banks have gotten where they put their logo on it, but they still think you're a sucker. And so by reading the book and learning how money works, and one of the things that was done by our partners was to make it simple to read. It's a whopping maybe an hour's worth of reading. It's got pictures, we're trying to make it so that it's simple for you, but learn. Come to seminars, but also get with a financial advisor. Get with a financial educator, someone who might have invited you to this seminar, to make sure that you follow through. It's one thing to have knowledge. And I always think about it. They say, knowledge is true freedom. No, action is. So you have to move to the next level and to do something. And when you're in a situation such as an abusive financial situation, the power is in your hands. You can either where you have to first learn how money works, work with a financial advisor. And I know in today's world, I was talking to Andrea about it. I said it's really difficult because we are so exposed on that internet. And everybody, every Tom, Dick, Harry, or whatever can find out what you're doing. But you get a partner with you to help you. Did I lose my slides? Oh, there. Okay. Can we have the bigger slide? Thank you. Thank you. So the next thing is that get involved in your finances. There's no problems. I remember there was a couple that came to see me, and the wife didn't want to have no parts of me. She didn't want to listen. but he made her come. And that was what he was supposed to do. And I kept saying to her, and finally I just said it to her point blank, what happens if he dies? What will you do? Now you're going to sit here and listen and at least get a little bit of concept and understanding, or are you going to be wandering around? Because there's no guarantee that I'm going to be here. I could die too. So what happens? And she sat there and finally it clicked. But be involved. Start to put things away, a little bit of savings. If you're working and he's sort of infringing upon how you're spending the money, well, there's some investments that you can put in to build towards your retirement and save. So you can, there are things, but you got to sit with a financial advisor or a financial educator to understand. That's what I have to get involved. You can't keep sitting back and looking. Do you understand that IRS has something called the harassed or indentured spouse? And what does that mean? That means that someone filed a tax return. You have no clue, no idea of what he put down, but you're responsible. He signed your name. You're responsible. So you have a right to even get a copy of your tax returns, even if he won't give it to you. And he doesn't have to know, or she. We don't want to be biased here. It can be either way. And so these are the things that you can do to get involved in your finances, your goals, your dreams, your desires. Let us know what that is, and then you start working towards it. But some say, well, all my accounts, like we saw here where Andre was talking about, where they put your name on your credit cards. Okay, that can be done. But also you can set up and block your credit cards, that no one puts anything on your credit unless you clear it. At least you know it's happening. These are the things you can do to take control over what's happening in your finances, and you get involved. Don't sit back and say, oh, well, he takes care of everything. No. Take a look, because in the long run, he dies. He builds up all of this debt. Guess what? You can't turn around and say, well, that was his debt. It's not mine. No, you're married. It's both of you. So you have to get involved. Okay. But start looking at the red flags, the things that will start to happen where the control starts to take place and where you're blocked out. Statements come in and you don't get to open up the statement. You can't touch the mail. You don't even have a key to the mailbox. Okay. These are the things of control. These are red flags that come up that you need to say, I need to step forward, or I might have to step out. As I have said before, and my mom always told me, she said, if you ain't born with it, you don't have to keep it. So therefore, sometimes we've got to release. And I'm not an advocate. I believe that people, you find each other, you're together, you want to make it work. But financial abuse, it happens not just boom, it happens gradually. All of a sudden, you'll see something, the mail is put to the side, or there's a tax bill. And he's like, I got that covered. And then all of a sudden, you find out that your paycheck has been garnished. There's a garnishee on you. Or you find out that, there's a credit that's delinquent, a credit card that's delinquent. These are the little things that start to happen, and then an argument pursues so that you don't ask any more questions. So these are the things that you have. These are the little red flags that you got to look. It's important to recognize the red flags so that you can start to connect the dots and then start to see what you're going to do in the long run. Okay. I'm going, did I 14? Right. Okay. So the next thing is that you want to talk about the problem. Sorry about that. You want to talk about it. Stop being the silent agent that no one knows what's going on. Secret agent woman. Don't be a secret. As Andrea said, 1 out of 4 women are part of an abusive situation. That's a lot. How do you acknowledge it? You start to talk. And Andrea, I wanted you, just because some people might not have heard it, but you talked about your cousin. Can you share with us a little bit about, even though you were angry with her to begin with?
Yes, I sure will. So my cousin and I are extremely close. And I had a conversation with her about what was going on in my household, something that took place. And I felt I needed to talk. And so I did, and I shared it with her. What she did was she turned around and shared it with my mother. So now it's out there. So it's important to have, like you said, that conversation. I was extremely angry because I didn't want anybody else to be involved. I was already embarrassed, but I wanted to share, I shared everything with, my cousin. Um, but she loved me so much that she did not remain quiet. She had so much love for me that she wanted me out of that situation, and she knew not to keep quiet about it. And so she told my mother, and
That,
that's the
and
process.
that's what we have to do. Women helping women, men helping women, men helping men. you know, we have to help each other. Where they said is that, and it's truly in our African tradition, is that it takes a village. The elders would always stand up and talk, and you knew you could go. I don't know what happened when we got to this craziness that we all by ourselves and it's nobody else's business. Yeah, it is, because it affects everyone. If as Andrea shared before in our other conversation, is the fact that sometimes the solution will end up not a pretty picture. We've seen it. We see it on the news continuously. Someone kills someone, someone's disappeared. The children are affected. There was we had a session on Tuesday, and one of the ladies talked about the fact that that's what happened, that the whole family's destroyed. Somebody has to stand up and speak, you know. And like Ash's poem said, is that we've got to do something. We can't stay quiet. And so we've got to move to the level to talk about the problem. It is amazing to me when we do talk about it. It crosses social, religious, spiritual, economical levels. You have people who are PhDs, to the point of people who are domestics, and they all got the same story. We've got to make a difference. And that's one of the ways to solve the problem, is to talk about the problem and to understand you're not the only person, and that it's only happening to you. And then the fifth above all is to put your personal financial information in, and your plan in a safe place. It might mean that your financial advisor holds it for you. Um, it may mean that you may have a business and the funds are placed in the business name and hidden that way. It may mean that you have a very, very close friend, like Andrea has her cousin, and they may be the person who's joint on the account with you. So this way, he can't get to it. The other person can't get to it. There's so many things that you can do, but you got to start. And you don't lay your plan out there and you have the mail come to the house. There's things called safety deposit boxes. Get a safety deposit box.
And you
Where
know,
now,
Jana,
go ahead.
something else that is very vital. Start taking pictures of things in the house. You know, your documents, because when you have to flee in a emergency, you're leaving quickly. You're not thinking about all the documents. Let me get this. Make copies of them, and don't just have them in one centralized location. You need to make copies. And like you said, if you need to give it to your, trusted friend, do that. Have these pictures so that way there are going to be some legal issues along, down the road. Then you have those documents.
And that's another thing. We're in the tech world. You can honestly get a space. Something that we have available to us also is to put it in the cloud. Take the picture, scan them, put them in the cloud, and have the password to the cloud, give it to someone else. These are the things that can be done, but you don't, if you put it out there and it's laying around and it's coming into the household, it's going to be known. So don't put yourself in that. There's so many different things that can happen, and that's on all levels, because even with our personal information and identity theft, which is going to be another presentation we do, you got to protect your information. So as Beyonce Knowles Carter says, is that if everything was perfect, you would never learn and you would never grow. So put yourself in the position of where you're learning and you're growing, and no embarrassment. There's no such thing as that. It's about learning and growing and moving. There are many resources that are out here that we want to share with you. There is the www.domesticshelter.org. And I know people say, I'm not going into a shelter. You don't have to. There are other means that you can go through. And if you want to, you can take a screenshot of this, or you can reach out to us. And we can provide you with some of these resources. It is so important that you do something, because you weren't meant to be unhappy. You were not meant to be abused. You were not meant to brought into this world. You are a spirit having a human experience, and it is a blessing. You are blessed and highly favored. We say it, but you got to live it. And to do that, you don't let someone else abuse you. That's enough. So before we start our question and answer, I would like to bring Ash.489 back on and have her to share her words of wisdom again.
Okay, thank you guys. Sorry, I'm just over losing my voice. But okay, I have one more piece. This is called, actually I'm gonna save the title and you'll see why. My boyfriend hits me because he loves me. He just wants me to do better. Sometimes my boyfriend gets so angry, he takes the buckle side of the belt and transforms my human body into a punching bag. One time, I sucked my teeth a little too hard. I couldn't sit down after a week. My boyfriend tells me he loves me and buys me nice things after he finally calms down. So I guess it makes everything okay. I know he's trying to help me understand what love is, and even if he doesn't put me above shit, I can tell he does love me. The way he shows it may be a little funny, but my boyfriend protects me by making me face harsh realities, like I won't be anything in this life if I don't allow him to beat the logic out of me. I can see how you're all looking at me now. Like, wow, that girl is lost. How can she allow such abuse and keep giving the same lame excuse? How does she think that's love? Let me explain. Let's play a game where we shift the name and you tell me who's really to blame. My dad hits me because he loves me. He just wants me to do better. Sometimes my dad gets so angry he takes the buckle side of the belt and transforms my human body into a punching bag. One time, I sucked my teeth a little too hard. I couldn't sit down after a week. My dad tells me he loves me and buys me nice things after he finally calms down. So I guess it makes everything okay. I know he's trying to help me understand what love is, and even if he doesn't put me above shit, I can tell he does love me. The way he shows it may be a little funny, but my dad protects me by making me face harsh realities like I won't be anything in this life if I don't allow him to beat the logic out of me now. Now you're all looking at me like my life is a tragedy and the things I speak about really happened to me, so the look on your face is right. But the only face that deserves the spotlight are the children without a voice, but ears big enough to hear and understand the lies society protects when it comes to generational trauma. See, I followed the same footsteps of my own mama, the one that led us to believe that because our dad beat us senselessly, it only meant he was doing right by me. The footsteps that have me tripping over my involuntary insanity caused by parents' lack of accountability. Can you try explaining to your children how it's okay for mom or dad to teach lessons through violence, but we are expected to leave our partners the minute they get violent? The contradictory in all of our history is a clear indication of where things will lead to. You'll either fall in love with or be like the person who abused you, unless we make an effort. We must break this curse. It is our job to break this curse that's brought on before birth. Stop putting your hands on your kids. Their future and their relationships depend on it. Stop putting your hands on your kids. Their future and their relationships depend on it.
Awesome. Awesome. Oh my goodness. God bless you. Definitely.
Thank you.
Definitely. Now, if anybody has any questions, you can put it in the comment section. Such great information. Yes, definitely. And I appreciate everyone. If you have any comments, statements, of course, put it in. I would like now, we put in the comment section a link that if anybody wants some additional information, yes, there it is that you can fill that form out. It'll come to us. The reason why this time I decided not to do a pre-signing it's because and registration, because this is a very delicate topic, and I didn't want someone to be able to follow someone or say they were there, whatever, they're coming to the event. I was just trying to protect people's privacy. This link will come straight to us. And it goes away. So therefore, it's just to protect. Okay, so any question, we have a question. Do you think abusers know they're abusers?
Oh, yeah.
Some of them do. Yes, absolutely. And some of them will tell you they know that they're abusers and they just get angry and they don't know why they get so angry. And then they calm down and then they apologize and then they just bear with me. I'm trying to do better. So, yes.
I agree. I think that they do know that they are. I don't think that some of them don't know the extent of what they're doing. But they think that, by saying I'm sorry heals it all.
Mm-hmm.
It does nothing. Again, my mother was such a wise woman. And she always said, when you said that you were sorry, she said, yeah, you are sorry.
Mm-hmm.
You're real sorry. That's exactly right. Not a doggone good, sorry ass person. That's what you are. So, it's one of those things that you think about. But yes, I think that, and a way of controlling,
Right.
to continue to the control,
And some of them will say, I know I need help. I
Yeah.
know I need help. And so they recognize that. And then the pattern is there. Some say, well, my dad, abused my mom. And, I wish I was not like that. I know I need to get the help. They
And
may
that's what
start off and then, some
that's
do get help. Some are
they do.
helped, some turn around,
Some do,
and
but it's
some don't.
something that, like you said, it's ingrained and it's from generation to generation. And just like you said, Ashes, is that even the spanking, when you, what are you saying? If it's a constant situation. Yeah, I grew up, I'm a baby boomer. I got my butt popped a few times. But, that infamous statement that parents would make, this hurts me more than it hurts you. And I wasn't understanding that at all. you know. But I did, I had respect, and I had love. I was loved. And when I did something really stupid that could have endangered me, then yes, I got my butt beat. But I got it beat, and my mother was good at talking to me to tell me why. This is just, why would you do it? Because I think about now, we've got kids who are surfing on the trains, and I'm like, what were you thinking or not thinking, But the thing is that it's generational. When you see where a baby would hit its mother and then kiss her. That's what I saw yesterday. And I didn't know what to do, because I wanted to say to the mother, don't let him hit you. And then right behind it, and more than, if he was 2 years old, that was good. That was a good year, because he's little, but he hit her. And then he went over and kissed her, and he kept kissing her. And I said, he's witnessing the same thing. We've got to stop it, And I'm hoping that people today hear this and act on it. And women, if you are feeling it, reach out to someone. Tell someone. Tell them.
Yes.
And if that person can help you, tell somebody else. When we talk about financial freedom, we say to folks, you find the financial advisor that will work for you. Well, find that person that loves you enough to help you through this, because it's not an easy plight to go through, but you can get through it. There are survivors. We're here. The level is like, and I said, if you don't remember anything, remember Burma J. Woodhouse's words: if you ain't born with it, you don't have to keep it. You can leave it. It's okay.
It is all right.
It's all right. So I'm hoping that someone, again, this is part of Access Wealth Nation on the Soul City Broadcasting Network. This is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I'm hoping that we brought the awareness, and I hope we have brought it to the extent that you do something if you are in a situation, or if you know of someone who is in a situation that needs some help. Reach out, ask for the help. It's there. And for those who are abusers and they say, I will give a plug, there's one of my dear clients, she has a site, and it's therapy for Black men. So look it up. Vladimir Kalixi, she has a site for you, because we have that thing that, we women, we will go to therapy, but they won't. Okay, I got some place to go now, you know. So if anybody else have any statements, comments, would you like to share? Ash, I just I just love you. You know,
Beautiful, Ash. Beautiful.
and we will be doing some more things together.
Awesome.
And I need you to make sure that you send Jasmine your information, your address and stuff, because I have something for you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Definitely. Okay, so if there's no questions, comments, or anything, I'd like to close our session here at Access Wealth Nation. I want to thank my guests. Oh, wait a minute, Ash. Oh, somebody wrote something. I'm missing. Okay, I'll give it a second. Oh, oh, okay. Someone wants to know, where do we experience more of you?
Wow, I appreciate that. So right now I am actually writing a book. You can follow me on Instagram at ash.489xn. It's ash.489xn. And then I'm actually having a showcase in December where you can come out. There's amazing artists that are going to be there. It's a poetry show and a music show. It's located in Long Island City. It's all over my page. You're going to see it. And in my book, it is about my life. It is about all the generational trauma. It is about healing. It is about getting over domestic violence. As a kid, I lived through it. Unfortunately, as an adult, I lived through it. But I am proud to say that I'm the first generation to say that it stops here. It will not continue. And I hope that this conversation can really be held in a lot of households, because like you guys said, even if you're not involved in it, 1 in 4 women are. So a friend, a cousin, a loved one, they're going through it, and some of them are going through it in silence. For a while I was hiding my own bruises. And I just remember looking in the mirror one day and saying, whoa, this is not okay. But I really thank you guys so much. And about the finances, they are not lying. I was told to move away and quit your job. You don't need that job. I'll take care of you. And it was glamour and gold for a long time. Well, excuse me, for months it was glamour and gold, and then the switch happened, and it's very quick. It's silent too. It's very silent, and it goes under the radar until you see it, and it's like, oh, how did that happen?
Yeah, see, that's it, is that once you see those little red flags, that's when you've got to act. I remember a quick story. One of my exes, his aunt, she was telling us her story. She had been physically abused terribly, and to the nth of her life. She woke up the next morning and she shaved half of his face while he was asleep. He never touched her again. Because if you can shave my face while
Wow.
what can I do? So she made a statement, because I thought she was going to say, I packed my bags and the kids and I was gone. She said, no, I just shaved half his face. Because I think it's phenomenal that these abusers think that, once you hit someone and then you're going to make them cook for you. I'm like, this is as bad as the slave master. You think I'm not going to put some class up in there? Oh, well, anyway, I'm doing my Medea moment.
Fall back. Right?
But definitely, and I'm hoping this will play on. I know you can replay and listen to it again on YouTube and on Facebook. Please reach out. And if you fill out the form and you have a situation that you'd like us to address, please let us know and we'll be back in touch with you. This is so important. Okay, I didn't see that one. Okay, I'm seeing notes and stuff. Oh, or sleep with you. Oh, yeah, right. They'll go back and sleep with you. You're right, Allison. So that being said, I hope you learned something today. I hope you act on something today. Know that you are loved, because when you look in the mirror, you love you, and
Right.
you and God are one. That's a love that never stops. And so we close our session here at Access Wealth Nation on the Soul City Network. And please listen in every Thursday. We come here with some financial tips to give you that checkup from the neck up, and know that you can be financially free. Take
Yes.
care and have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Bye.
She was told that she couldn't play with the boys. She was told that they were too big, too rough, too strong. She was told to give up her dreams and move on. She was told to just be pretty, be quiet, be a lady. She was told that women had to stay on their side of the court, stay in your lane. Playing and competing with men was insane. She was told that men and women would never be equal. Dreaming like that would only be lethal to your mind, to your soul. She never listened. She knew that their thinking was old. She is magic. She is the definition of spirit. She is what champions are made of. She is magic.